You're listening to the Drinks in a Movie podcast, hosted by Rudy Ruiz.
Well, here we go. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining a new episode of Drinks in a Movie podcast. I've got Brandon Cox here, director of photography, second time on the show. Welcome back. Thanks for being here. And this time we're going to be talking about One Spoon of Chocolate, which just came out this weekend on Friday, directed by the RZA. Before we jump in, I don't know if you have a drink with your if I don't know if you have a drink, but I decided to kind of go on as on theme as I could, and I forgot I
Yeah,
had the Circle City from Ohio, which you don't really
nice.
get many bourbons from Ohio. So this I bought it in Indiana at Rural Inn, but it was distilled at Watershed in Ohio. 125 proof, 5 year Kentucky straight bourbon. And since the movie takes place pretty much all in Ohio, I
Yeah.
figured, no, this is as close as I could get. I couldn't find anything chocolate related, so
Uh,
this is what we're getting.
you could make a chocolate old fashioned for that probably with
I,
that bourbon.
yeah, I thought about it. I have some Aztec chocolate bitters, but I was like, oh, I don't want to spend too much time on that.
Right, right,
But
right. So I saw you saw it at the Vista today, right? So you
yeah,
saw it on
yeah.
35.
Oh yeah.
And how were your how would you I don't mean to dictate the thing, but like seeing it at the Vista, which is very cool. That was one of the things that Quentin, told RZA. He's like, hey, let's make a print. Hey, let's put it at the Vista, which he happens to own.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, what do you so yeah, so there you
Yeah,
go, man.
it
Way to
was
go.
great. I wish I could have gone to one of the I was out of town on Friday, Saturday, otherwise I would have seen it at night. So I went for like a 1 p.m. matinee.
Right.
But yeah, I loved it, man, and especially over there. Like one, I love watching film prints. I guess I'm just a nerd,
Sure.
so I love doing that. And Vista has like the best sound system
They
and
have an
just an
incredible
overall
song.
nice. So I really love that. There's great sound design in this movie, of course, and yeah, I had a really good time with it. It was fun. It was cool. There was some like I stayed for all the credits, and one other guy stayed for all the credits too. And we started talking. He's like, "What'd you think?" And I kind of told him my thoughts, and he was telling me his. And he's like, "Yeah, this is the first RZA movie I've seen. I like that he incorporated some of the kind of fighting martial arts stuff." I was like, "Yeah, man, it's pretty dope. You got to check out his first movie." And yeah, we were just kind of shooting the shit about it, which is nice. I love that communal aspect about it too. That there's
Yeah.
like we're literally like sitting through the credits and kind of strangers talking about the movie. But
Which is great. That's what I want.
yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I really dug it. I love the way you handle color, especially. I really want to get into that. With you being
Sure.
cinematographer, because you guys capture this like there's this kind of like the sodium vapor look and sometimes that kind of green look you get in light, but it is definitely stylized, right? You got a lot of
Yeah.
red and cyan, hence my little influence right here.
Yeah.
But like yeah, I mean, if you want to kind of, well, I guess let's start here. Sorry, now I'm just jumping all over.
No, no, it's all
Um,
right.
I think what's cool is when I first had you on the show, it was for the movie Werewolves that you shot.
That's right.
So I
Yeah.
remember in the last like, chunk of that recording we did, you mentioned that I think you guys had just wrapped shooting this one or you were,
Yeah, I think
around
that's
being
about
done.
right. That we were I was coloring it. I think I was in color
Okay.
at the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I remember you first brought it up then, and it was like, so it's cool to be here, a year later, however long it's been.
exactly.
Well, yeah, like talking about it now. And now that we're on the subject of this movie, I'd love to hear more about that collaboration. I mean, this was the second time you shot with RZA, right?
That's correct. Yeah, that is
Okay.
correct.
So
Yeah.
when you got this script, I mean, what was your first take on it? Like, take me back to like you read it,
Okay.
and for me, I'm gonna try not to spoil it since the movie's still pretty fresh. But I kind of got a sense of like it's a little bit Rolling Thunder, maybe a
Yeah.
little bit Walking Tall, like a little bit of First Blood in the DNA, maybe. So I kind of like that that vibe. Tell me what you thought when you first read it.
Literally. So he gave it to me in, I believe it was like December of 2023.
Okay.
And he said, read it, and then you're going to come over this weekend and we're going to talk about it over dinner. I was like, okay, fine. So I read the script. I made a whole bunch of notes. I went to his place. We like ate dinner first, then we just sat and talked about it for like 2.5, 3 hours. And he said, what do you think? And I said, first of all, this is awesome. And we have to get this right. Meaning what he wrote. I have to have the audience feel this revenge, But the first thing I said, this really reminds me a lot of First Blood.
Hmm.
And I think I mentioned Walking Tall as well.
Hmm.
And I know that came up somewhere, but First Blood was my first inclination. Then I said Mississippi Burning, some of that in there. And then I said, what was the other one? Oh gosh, there was like another film. Oh, I said Out of the Furnace, sort of the feel of Out of the Furnace, and a little bit of Killing Them Softly, just that kind of like grittiness to it, and that was where I went. But the thing that I really connected with was Unique, the
Hmm.
main character, who Shamik Moore plays. I really connected with this kid who had an altercation while he was in jail. As a former military with a martial arts background, and was a good soldier, and just trying to make his way, right? And something happens, he moves in with his cousin, and then all the business happens, right? But I just felt like he was just this guy just trying to get back to his way, and along the way he gets pushed, and then when he gets pushed, it goes the
Hmm.
wrong way. Um, and then the main that what it so I had a lot of strong feelings about it. I was happy that he wrote it. I didn't know how long he had held this thing off.
Hmm.
If you listen to a couple interviews with him, he had this idea back in 2011 or 2012. He started it and then he just put it down and he didn't touch it for,
Hmm.
till the pandemic started around. And I think it was around 21 or 22 when he picked it back up, and then he was ready to write it. And so he wrote it, and he was really excited, and he gave it to me, and I said, "Well, when do you think you want to do this?" And he said, "I think around like end of March, April of 2024. Is you free?" It's like, come on, man, for you, I'm free. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, we did it, and it's like a 27 or 28-day shoot. We shot it all in Georgia, Atlanta,
Okay.
Georgia, and just the collaboration, how we worked. I basically pulled up shot deck and made the movie I thought visually with all the stills and sort of what he liked, what I liked, and we talked about movies that sort of influenced us. And from that point on, I then printed out all those stills, put them up all over the wall. But I knew trying to blend all these sort of genres. And meanwhile, he's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have Red Apple cigarettes in there.
Yeah.
We're gonna have little nods to Wu-Tang," which I caught
Hmm.
on. And the one I didn't catch until I actually saw. I caught it early, but I wasn't sure, because the guy's name's Randy Unique Johnson, right? But a member in the Wu-Tang Clan's name was Unique, Ason
They
Unique.
sound unique. Yeah.
That's Old Dirty Bastard.
Hmm.
It wasn't, and I thought about it, but I didn't think about it. But it wasn't until I saw Shamik and his hairstyle and what he was wearing, I was like, okay, this is an homage to Old Dirty Bastard. This
Hmm.
whole I knew it, and then I, and
Yeah.
then I didn't say it out loud. I know I talked to RZA about it the day when before we shot, but because I was seeing all of the makeup tests, the hair tests, and the costume tests. So then I knew, and I said, I'll keep it on the DL. And not many people will catch it. And it was fun, man. This is a film that he wrote, directed, and produced all himself.
Hmm.
And his wife, he produced it with his wife, and he produced it with his brother. And then we had a producer, Paul Hall, who came from John Singleton's wheelhouse.
Hmm.
And it was an experience, man. It was amazing. This was the most collaborative besides, Cup Third City we were on. We were kind of feeling each other out. This was the most collaborative we were in part two, being one spoon of chocolate. So
Yeah.
it was very gratifying and very fun to collaborate with him.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of the Wu-Tang references in there, and it's done in such a slick well. Like I caught on really quick to the Asan unique,
Yeah.
like as
Yeah.
soon as that name came up, and there's like I want to say at least a couple times like an insert of
Oh
like
yeah.
lyrics in the dialogue. The
Oh
one that
yeah.
really sticks out to me is the you know heaven is what you make it, hell is just what you
Yeah,
go
that's
through
what
to
you got to
get
go through to
there.
get
Was
it.
it
So good.
was really well planted, And
So good.
I remember, so I first saw the trailer because I remember seeing bits of it come up on Instagram, but I was kind of like
Sure.
waiting it out. And then I went to a double feature of Man with the Iron Fist and Mystery of Chess Boxing just a few weeks ago at Vidiot's
Oh
and
yeah,
RZA.
was that over at Idiots?
Yeah, Vidiot's and Eagle
Yeah,
Rock.
yeah, yeah,
So RZA was there to intro it and everything, which was really cool. And that was the first time I had saw like the full trailer on the big screen, and I'm glad I waited because I like to see trailers that way too. And I remember
yeah.
I messaged you soon after, and I was like, "Did you guys shoot this on 16? It just has that really great like gritty, thick quality."
Right,
And
right.
then you mentioned that you had, well, we didn't talk about it too much because I wanted to save it for this, but that you
Sure.
guys didn't, but through some post process, maybe
Yeah,
you played around a little bit. I'd love to hear about that.
sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I tried. That was one we were going to try. I was trying for 16 and 35. I did the math, I did the numbers. It was coming in really high. And just for how we would have shot the film, I mean, film, I could have done it. I hadn't shot film in a while, but that was where I started. I started on
Hmm.
film, and I always loved film. But financially, it was just the numbers weren't working.
Mm.
So I said, okay, well, I'll shoot classic Alexa Mini. And then I got the camera packages from Keslo, and I knew they had the Hawk anamorphic, the Vintage 74s, which is what they
Mm.
shot John Wick on, the original John Wick,
Okay.
and a bunch of other films. And I think Bullet Train was shot on those as well, and Atomic Blonde. So a lot with Jonathan Sella,
Hmm.
cinematographer work, and I know he likes him a lot. And so I never had gotten a chance to shoot with him because I know they're always out.
Mm.
For some reason it worked out right for me. So
Yeah.
we tested them, and those are the ones we landed on. And I knew going in like this was going to be a gritty film. I was going to light it,
Hmm.
very similar to what I do, but with a lot of contrast. But I knew I felt like I added a lot of live grain in it. So they have these plugins in which you can during the grade you can add more grain, less grain, and
Hmm.
I tried to put like a print look on the movie to emulate like 5279, the old 500 stock, just Vision, not Vision 2,
Okay.
because I like that stock. And then we added little bits of grain in there. So that was where that came in, a little sharpening and like,
Hmm.
the highlights like fall off at the shoulder and just sort of like they bloom at a certain point, and that's that. So that was what that was the aesthetic of that. Was trying to achieve a filmic look, a grindhouse look, but do it in
Yeah.
the digital process.
Yeah, it looks great, man. Like it definitely, all that stuff, especially hearing you saying it, is definitely, at least as far as I know, like very well achieved. Like you definitely would have had me fooled for sure.
Oh man,
And
that's cool. That's cool.
yeah, and
I
and it's great.
appreciate
I
that.
think that aesthetic really, fits the content, right? The story and what's going
Sure.
on. It like, fits it really well. And in terms of I wanted to go back to color. I mean.
Mhm.
I love it, the style, right? Like a lot of the cyan and reds and all that. Was that all kind of born, I'm assuming, out of the references that you guys
Yeah.
shared together? Because it
Yeah.
could have been, maybe a lot more just in another direction. Like how'd you guys, I guess, land on that kind of style there in terms of your
You
color?
know, it was interesting. It was some references. It also just sort of happened on the day too, because I remember there's a shot. I don't know if you remember when Jimmy and the gang are coming out of the Legion, and
Mm,
they find out like, hey, we're those guys having dinner and all that stuff, and um, this is after they had their altercation at I believe it was, oh no, no, okay, this is right before. So they're coming out of the Legion, and there's like a red light coming out of the doorway, and then I had some like bluish, greenish light coming out, and then they ended up using Tyler Bates's synth score. It almost felt like a Carpenter film at some point, right?
yeah. Yeah.
And it was cool. It had like an 80s, 70s feel to it. So that was a lot of fun to sort of mess around with. And then in the Legion, I had this sort of icky, fluorescence above where the
Hmm.
guys trained in um Randy's cousin's house where he lived. It was always warm and inviting in there because
Yeah.
that was his safe space, and that was one of the things I always wanted to keep. that was his solace. That's where he could keep sort of his safety. And then in the police station was just kind of cold light, very
Hmm.
clinical. And then in the barn where, he spends the training and all that, it was I did a mix of cold and warm.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and I had the production designer put in fluorescent sort of chain lights to hang down, and then we put a stairs in there, and I dialed them into this sort of minty green color I normally
Hmm.
like, and then I just push it from there. So, but that was
Yeah.
that was the aesthetic to do that.
Yeah, the American Legion shot that you mentioned is like one of the first ones that really stands out in my mind, and kind of what I was alluding to earlier, where it's like it has kind of a naturalism to it because that like dirty green that's in there it just makes me because I feel like I've been in similar environments like that kind of
Right,
lighting, but then also it's like for the movie like leveled up, stylized up a little bit,
right.
so it like really teeters this line that I think is like really great. And it reminds me a lot, honestly. Sorry, this might be over some listeners' heads, but it's like Chris Doyle and Wong Kar-wai when they would do like Chungking Express or Fallen Angels or something,
I
where it's
will
like,
I will take that all day long.
because,
Thank you.
and I think you'll
Thank
know
you.
what I mean, right? It's like
I
they're
don't
out
know. I
in
know
the
exactly what you mean. I
street,
know
and it's
exactly
like
what you mean.
they're like leaning into like the
Like
natural, like kind
Fallen
of
Angels, I
dirty
think I
colors
had.
that are there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
They're using the lighting of the environment, right? Of
yeah,
that culture of what's there. And the restaurant where they meet up, there was all
hmm,
fluorescence in the ceiling. So I
yeah.
basically had skirted some and just changed the bulbs and gave it more of an aesthetic of what it, felt like. It was not too clinical, but it wasn't too perfect. And I just kind of I leaned into that minty green color,
Mhm.
and went with it. And oh man, just to mention Christopher Doyle, thank you so much, is the hero. So I will take it all day long. Sorry.
No, man, it's great.
Yeah.
I love the work. And when you guys came to shooting the fighting scenes, I'd be curious to hear about this. I can only imagine that with, RZA being very much into the old martial arts films,
Sure.
and I know you are too.
Yeah.
Um, I remember when hearing interviews with Quentin Tarantino talking about shooting Kill Bill and how it was different because over there when they're in those eastern countries and they shoot the martial arts stuff, they shoot it in order, whereas
Right.
it's like a very American thing to shoot one side then move everything to the other side so you're not
Right.
switching back and forth. So I'm curious if you guys did like what would be a normal approach to us here, or if you guys took that kind of more like eastern martial arts movie way of shooting the fight scenes.
We did actually. It's funny. We did both. We did a little
Okay.
bit of both because, like, RZA was on Kill Bill for
Hmm.
the entire shoot. That's where he learned how to make movies with Quentin. He stayed with him for the 7 month, 8 month shoot in China. And so he saw how Hong Kong movies are made. Thus then he went and made Man with the Iron Fist. So,
Yeah.
and I knew how Hong Kong movies were made, or movies in the East. So we mixed the Hollywood style with the Hong Kong style because Riz would be like, "Okay, baby, let's go. We going Hong Kong
Yeah.
now." You know? And we did. And one of the cool things was that we recruited for stunt choreography. We got Maurice Crump, and Maurice trained Chadwick Boseman for Black Panther.
Mhm.
So he was very close, and he's just an incredible martial artist. And he came up with his training guys were all Tony Jaa's guys,
Oh
you
shit.
know,
Okay.
and he knows all the guys from Indonesia as well from the raid. So
Mm.
that's where he comes from. That school thought. So RZA knew we didn't want the sort of smooth, perfect 87-11 gliding,
Hmm.
sort of oneer type thing, which is beautiful. And I know a lot of guys that work for them and they're amazing. We didn't want that. We wanted to kind of we wanted brutality, is what we
Yeah.
wanted. Um, and sometimes that isn't pretty. And
Hmm.
it's not as smooth and as nice and as flowy. And we wanted the violence to feel justified too after what happens. And I think it is. But it had to gut punch you and sort of like put your face down to it, right?
Yeah.
And I think we achieved it, I feel pretty strong about it. Um, I've seen the movie 3 times with an audience. I mean, I've seen it numerous times because I worked on it, but
Hmm.
just with an audience, a full audience. I've seen it 3 times, and every single time I've watched it, the first part of that fight when he goes in the hallway and busts that dude's face and all the blood goes across the
Hmm.
wall, audience always claps. They just get into it, right? And because they don't know they don't know what's about to happen, you know.
Yeah.
And he's beating people with screwdrivers, throwing wrenches, and all this
Hmm.
stuff, man. And then he gets in a bat fight. So it was fun. Yeah, I mean that's how we approached it. That was how we would shoot. I'd shoot a wide to sort of let it all happen, and then I come in for certain bits, and then I knew, okay, this part I want to try to keep the camera alive as much as possible.
Hmm.
But there was only to the limitations of what Shamik could do, you know,
Right, right.
because he's not a traditional martial artist,
Yeah.
more of a boxer. But he trained with Maurice and his crew, you know. And there's another guy he worked with, Jacques Rooms, who works with Maurice, is another awesome martial artist, choreographer. And those guys just really, I got to sit in with those guys and watch the choreography of how this went. It was really fun to know and to work closely with the stunt team. So that was how we sort of approached it. It was part Western, part Hong Kong.
Yeah. And is every like I'm curious with these fight scenes because there's so much going on. I mean, I imagine for the most part every shot is very intentional, but are there any moments where you guys are in the space and you're like, shit, well, we had this plan, but maybe if we're right here, this would be,
That
more
happens all the time.
impactful. Okay.
That happens all the time. I
Yeah.
did something. I didn't start doing it until he goes in that room with the blue lights or the black lights and he
Yeah,
pushed
yeah.
the guy through the wall, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes down and he stomped on him. So the first time I saw that, I just intentionally shook the camera.
Mm.
But not, it was just an instinct, just happened, right? And then when he did it again, I just went like that, like literally like this, right?
Yeah.
And for some reason, after that, RZA came to me. He's like, "You got to do that. You have to." I just, it's on the way I'm seeing it. I feels like I'm feeling the brutality. So I was like,
Hmm.
"Okay, I'll do it." And then we did it again when Harry and Shamik were fighting at the end, sort of, Enter the Dragon-esque standoff. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure you see that whole thing where it's like a two-shot in the light coming. I mean, dude, I was
Yeah.
Riz and I were throwing homages to Bruce Lee everywhere,
Yeah.
man. We
Yeah.
were trying, man. We were doing it in our own way without
Yeah.
being so, oh, look at these guys. They
Right,
look
right.
so hungry.
Yeah.
Anytime I can give homage to my hero, I will.
Hell yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, I love
yeah,
the
that happened a lot. It did happen a lot. It
yeah.
sort of something would happen, and let's try this.
Yeah. No, yeah, I really started thinking about that when I went to that screening of Man with the Iron Fist. I was like, damn, it's like it's so well put together. Like how much of this, so I had that in my mind here as well. It's like, okay, how much of it is like really super intentional, because it looks that way, but I imagine there's got to be a lot of inspiration once you're in the moment to,
There was.
do certain things.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, damn, damn. I'm trying not to. I'm curious, and I'll put up a spoiler alert thing on the
Oh yeah, I'm
the
sorry.
video here.
I'm
No,
trying not
well,
to.
I don't think we've spoiled too much in terms of story. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
people know there's going to be some fighting, but
Yeah. Right.
I
Right.
do
Right.
want to just ask your take. So here's a spoiler alert.
Sure.
If you haven't seen the movie, everybody, pause it for a little bit. Maybe I'll add a time code or something for you to jump back in. But what was, I mean, what's your take on the ending? Like I've only
Oh,
seen
I
the
know exactly
movie.
what's going to happen.
Okay. Is that scripted or just in your guys' discussion? Because I'm gonna watch this movie probably at least one more time in theaters.
Yeah.
Because like I love I love endings like that just kind of like
Right.
leave
Just
you
the
kind of
end, right?
hanging there.
Bam.
Yeah. But sometimes I'm like, man, I don't know how to feel about this one right now. Like what's your if you want to share, I don't know if you do or not.
No,
It's
I
no
mean,
worries
I
if not.
thought, listen, like what happens to his cousin? And here's the thing too, that what was in the script, what happens to him in the car lot. And then it was supposed to go the car lot thing, they dump alcohol on him and they
Yeah.
push the car. That was it. That was in the script.
Mhm.
And I told RZA, I said, listen, in order for this violence to mean anything, for the audience to even give you know, something or empathy for this to want them to go, yeah, you need to beat them down.
Hmm.
You have to see this happen to him. So thus why I showed what happens to the Legion's whole process and how this all works. And
Oh, that
so
wasn't originally gonna happen. It was all just
what
gonna be
what
implied.
what was supposed to happen was he's beaten up, put in the car,
Yeah.
alcohol dumped, and they pushed the car down. And then all the explanation was supposed to be in the coroner's office.
Oh, okay.
What I said was, I got an idea. Why don't we show their process of what they do?
Hmm.
We hint at it at the beginning.
Hmm.
Let's show the full thing. You know, they weigh it, they put it in the bag, it's got a price tag on it,
Hmm.
it goes in and it goes, and who knows who they're dealing with. And I said, it could be the cartels, it
Yeah.
could be the black market. Nobody cares. But these guys make money doing this.
Hmm.
And I said, by seeing it and by seeing how it affects him and his girlfriend and his family, I said, dude, there's no way the audience won't be on your side and want Unique to just bash everybody's face in. So by the time you get to the ending, that 6 minute speech, you you're like, yeah, man, pull the trigger. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
guy's a piece of crap.
Yeah.
Um, and I know what happens next, but I don't know if I want to say what happens next.
Yeah. That's okay. Probably for the best.
I'll text it to you. I'll text
Okay.
it to you. But leaving it the way it was, yeah, because he said after every screening, did this make you feel uncomfortable? Everybody says yes.
Hmm.
And he just put some hard truths in people's face.
Yeah.
And that's one of them, you know. So yeah, I mean, I knew going in it was gonna probably split a lot of people and go, oh man, that's screwed up. But like if we're just doing the happy duty ending or just some weird ambiguous ending, what are we
Yeah.
doing? What are we
Yeah.
doing? You know?
I did start to think like once Blair Underwood shows up, the parole officer, who
Sure.
looks great by the way. I haven't seen that guy in a
Yeah, oh
long.
yeah.
He looks really good.
In his mid 50s, man. He's almost
Yeah.
60 years old. That guy's Mr. Smooth, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when he shows up and gets on the bullhorn, I immediately thought I was like, oh,
Got a first
are
blood,
we
right?
about to do First Blood? You
Yeah.
know, like the movie, like it's gonna be that kind of situation. So I'm kind of glad it didn't go that way. But honestly, when we do get that, hard cut
Yeah.
to black, that funny enough, that made me think of First Blood, the book, because the book kind of has a similar, if you ever read the novel,
Yeah. Doesn't
a similar end to that.
he kills himself,
Yeah,
right?
in that one, well, Troutman actually kills him in the
Troutman
novel,
does him. Yeah.
and then what's his name? Teasel dies too, but it's like once they die, it's like then their side of the story ends because every chapter like alternates between
Right.
Rambo and Teasel, and then so it kind of also has the abrupt ending because he dies. But so yeah, funny. It like kind of made me think of the movie and the book.
Right. Right.
And I mean, I feel like I definitely had the empathy for him very early on, so I had no problem. Like so much of the movie, I'm like, yep, I'm ready for you to just take these guys down. I know I want you to live in peace, but these people got to go. And it is pretty, it's pretty harsh and hardcore, man. Like when the bondsman guy comes and is like, I need you to sign this other paper, so get in the car with me. I
Yeah.
fucking knew something. I was like, oh no, he's not getting out of here. And it's hard to watch, that
Yeah.
moment when he's
Yeah.
just kind of surrounded. And to your point, yeah, it does make you uncomfortable and you really want, these guys have to be dealt with. I do like too, and with story wise that in the end, whether he kills them or not, which it seems he does, that he kind of wins through intelligence, right? Of
Right.
having this mic on and getting this guy to say all this stuff for everybody to hear. I thought
Exactly.
was really, really brilliant. Um, as opposed to yeah, him just beating him to death and then getting shot by someone later or whatever. But
Exactly. Exactly.
so I did really like that. I thought that was a great just kind of story moment.
Yeah. And I always, I always loved how it ended, and um, he he tickles at me for a little bit because he goes, I say something like, he doesn't have to die. And he's like,
Yeah.
well, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, and then he
Yeah.
leaves it there.
Yeah.
But yeah, he doesn't have to die. So you don't know. I mean, and we left it that way, but it was satisfying. It was
Yeah.
satisfying to see that finally put together.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah.
good. It's good to get you thinking about it once the movie ends, right? It really
Yeah.
forces you to kind of sit with it a little bit longer. So there's a stroke of brilliance there too. Like, yeah, when I was talking to that guy at the theater, when the movie ended,
Mhm.
and I was like, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that ending yet. That's gonna take me a while. And he's like, what did you want to happen? I was like, I don't even know. I don't know. It's like I couldn't even tell you. But that's a good thing. I love that. I like that
Yeah.
feeling, the to
That's
keep
good.
kind of living in that moment when a movie ends. Sign of a good movie for sure.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, I mean. Dang, yeah. I feel like the rest of this might just be kind of gushing about it. So, I mean, I imagine you feel pretty good about it. Are you already talking about the next film together? Is there any other
Yeah,
scripts that
yeah.
are kind of waiting around or?
We did a little project in January actually,
Hmm,
leading up to this. And that's still being edited right now. These little 30-minute episodes of something he's putting together, he had an idea about. And so I think we have three or four of them done, and we have to do two more. He wants to do six
nice.
30-minute episodes. So once that sort of drops, I'll let you know. It's a cool thing called Saturday Afternoon Kung Fu Theater.
Okay.
I'll
All
just leave it at
right.
that.
Okay, yeah.
And it's
Looking forward
fun.
to
They're
that.
really fun. They're really fun. Um, and then yeah, there's a project that's been, I mean, we've been trying to do this since 6 years. That's been off on, but I think it's going to get closer this year.
Mm,
So we're hoping and probably the end of the year, the beginning of next year. But it's something big. And when it does happen, I'll let you know.
hell yeah.
I
I
will. It's something cool.
I do have another question. I mean, going back to your like starting to collaborate with RZA, I don't remember. I don't think we talked about this in the previous episode we did, but I'm curious, like when you first met him to take on Cutthroat City was the first movie you guys worked on together, right?
Yep.
Like how did just from a cinematographer perspective and like, the professional, the business side of it, like what does the kind of job interview, so to speak, look like? Like, you get called in and what's that first meeting even look like? And what are the questions you're being, asked and all that?
Uh, yeah, no, I was really lucky because I worked with Stephen Miller, right? And
Yeah.
so Stephen used to work with a cinematographer named Joe White. And Joe White also worked with RZA on his second film called Love Beats Rhymes. It's a spoken word
Hmm.
poetry movie he did. And Joe knew Steven, and Joe had a health thing that happened, and he knew that he wasn't going to be able to work with RZA, and he kind of had gotten out of narrative work and was doing solely fashion, commercial photography stuff and
Hmm.
cinematography because a lot of fashion shoots for brands have cinematography aspect shoots. So if you see in the mall, you'll see some beautiful like
Right.
movie of like, L'Oreal or whatever. He shoots a
Hmm.
lot of, and so he recommended me. And so having that, and then I also know Dave Bautista, and Dave Bautista was in Man in the Iron Fist. So I called Dave and I said, "Hey, listen, man, I'm up with this movie with RZA. Can you do me a solid and maybe give him a phone call?" He's like, "Done, dude.
Hmm.
I'll write him an email. Easy peasy." He said, "You guys need to be working together." I couldn't think of two people that need to be working together, right? And so that happened. Then RZA called me and he said, "Hey, brother, what's up? I spoke to Dave. We have him in common. I spoke to Joe. We have that in common. We have to, this sounds awesome. I want to do this with you. Um, I've seen your stuff. It's great. Um, and I'm doing a couple things, but I'll see you in New Orleans. We're gonna do this." So he had already made up his mind, right?
Hmm.
And then I didn't meet him until I went to New Orleans. So we get to New Orleans. He gets to New Orleans. He's like, let's go break bread. Let's go to eat. So I went and ate with him. We ate for like, we stayed at that restaurant for 2.5, 3 hours. We pretty much shut the place down.
Yeah.
We were the only ones left in there. And
Nice.
all we did was, we didn't even talk about the movie. All we
Yeah.
talked about was Bruce Lee and our love for Kung Fu movies
Hmm.
and a little bit of hip hop, and how much I love Wu-Tang Clan and all that. But in life and just, hey, where are you from?
Hmm.
And all this, just getting to feel out each other. And that was so like easy to get over. Like, oh my God, it's RZA from Wu-Tang. It was,
Hmm.
I was more starstruck from him than I was a lot of actors I've worked with.
Right.
So for me to just, it made me feel comfortable and it sort of broke down the walls and the barriers. And so yeah, it was amazing. And then from there now working with him again, now there's this cinematic sort of language we have
Yeah.
where we'll just show each other something and how can we make it look like this? It's like, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's cool. That sounds like the good way to go about it. More of the, less of the technical business stuff and more of the personal,
Yeah.
do we like each other as people? Can we get
Yeah.
along and, be on the journey of many, many months together,
Yeah,
kind of
and we're
thing.
and we're brutally honest with each other,
Yeah.
There's only a few directors, that I have that kind of relationship with.
Mm.
And he's one of them, and the person I'm working with now, I'm working with Kevin Lewis that directed Willy's Wonderland.
Okay,
I don't know if
nice.
that movie, and
Yeah,
Kevin's
yeah.
he's amazing, and we're doing this really fun movie, which it'll be announced in the trades probably in about a week or 2 weeks or so. But yeah, man, we're doing something fun, and Kevin and I are brutally honest with each other, and that's sort of the way that I approach things, and not sugarcoat anything because I know a
Yeah.
lot of people are afraid to sort of like encroach on the director, and he can say, "Hey, man, I'm not feeling this." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right," or I will do something. I'm like, I'm not feeling this. So
Hmm.
can we? And so we have that discussion, and then we fix it. We make it better.
How do you handle, I mean, if you've been in these situations, you know, moments where maybe there is a little bit of headbutting over like an idea or a choice or something to do or time or
Yeah,
gear you
time's
can't have
always.
what yeah, whatever. I mean, like how do you kind of handle and manage that stuff? Have you been in any kind of rough situations in regards to
Sure,
that, and how do you kind of
sure.
manage that?
You have to. I mean, it's you have to, be think quick on your toes because the more you sort of deliberate on it and sort of sulk about it or
Mm,
become upset, you're wasting time. So you have to sort of, okay, this is not working. Let's shift gears and try this, and then really stick with this new plan because if this plan doesn't work, then you're going to be, well, we wasted all this time to stop this and start this. And that's normally how I approach something.
yeah.
If it's not working, then just go in head first and just say, okay, this is what we're committing to. And it's normally universal and agreed upon. And then that's what we do. But you have to make a decision extremely quickly because you can't waste the time
Hmm.
to do that. And I've been in a situation where it took longer than normal and we did go over, but at least we got it. And yeah, there were, oh man, I'm sorry that happened. But in the end, we're like, I'm so glad we switched it because it's better for the movie,
Hmm.
you know.
Nice. And when
Yeah.
you I mean, I'll get into more kind of another technical question right here because I'm
Sure.
always curious, like when it comes to, just lighting, something I'm particularly interested in. Are there kind of is every movie always different, or do you have kind of your go-to kind of fixture and maybe way of doing something that works a lot of the time? Like for just a random example, like, I like to bounce a Lico off of unbleached
Yeah.
muslin, and that's like always gonna play somewhere in a way that makes sense. Or do you have any like kind of tools of the trade like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's sort of some things. The one thing I really enjoyed doing on this, which I hadn't really messed with my gaffer, Eric Monk, who he's come from the TV world and it was my first time working with him. I've worked with him, four other times now since then. He's actually gaffing the movie I'm working on right now.
Nice.
And we it's crazy. He mentioned to me, the big field where Unique's running from the truck,
Yeah, yeah,
field scene, right? And the junkyard, we had a lot to cover there. It's a really expansive place. And I said, well, should we go with like 18Ks at night? And I needed like I've never used four condors in my life before, but I had four condors on that night. And he said, well, have you ever used image movers? And I said, no. Well, image movers, I don't know, man. And he's like, no, no, trust me on this. You can cover a lot of ground really quickly and super fast, and you can spot them and flood them and you get however you want. I said, all right, man, I'll go with it. I'll go with it.
hmm
We got those things up there. We lit that field. I had an 18K, but then two image movers that spread it out the light. And we got really lucky with the weather because the fog sort of hung right at the top of the weeds where normally fog goes up and
yeah. Oh, so
dissipates
that was
out.
natural.
That was all natural, bud. Oh,
Oh,
no, no,
okay.
that was natural plus added tuba def.
Okay. Yeah.
But it takes the weather to get right to do that.
Yeah.
You can't like you got to have something particular happen, and normally the fog will rise up and then dissipate
Right.
and go. For some reason, it just hung right at the top of the weeds there, and so that was one of those things where now if I do a night exterior, I want the image movers because
Yeah.
he sort of got me there. Um, he also made a moon like box for me with like I think it's like 22 asteras on a petty bone, and we lift it up and do it right over things. So like at the restaurant, when they come outside up front of the restaurant, I have one
hmm
there. When they roll up to the convenience store, there's one there. When they're in the junkyard escaping the car, there's one there. I may
Yeah.
not have turned on all the lights, but I just did them dim down. But that's one of the things I do. I use a lot now. And I just did a movie in Thailand at the end of the year, into the beginning of the year, and I got into Infinimats. Infinimats are such a game changer for me, man.
Yeah.
They are incredible. They're extremely powerful. And I am getting no money from Aperture, by the way. To say this, all I'm saying is I love those lights.
Yeah.
That's my new kind of go-to, Infinimats.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shot in the field, because there was in some of the shots you see like the big old light in the sky, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's not even just that. So even besides that, the image mover, you said there's four of them, so there's like more
Yeah.
than that in that,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it looks like it's pretty seamless. Like I would have thought it was okay. We
Yeah,
got
you
one right
can't
here. It makes
see.
sense, you know. It's
You
like
hide it with certain things. Like I know in the
yeah,
junkyard, there's like that drone shot that's going face, following the cars. You see the source way off in the distance. But I would have another one off to the side. We would just point them and scatter them where we wanted to, just to get illumination in the background. So you're just not lighting a certain
yeah,
spot, lighting the entire space.
yeah.
So it's creating depth, and that's what we use that for.
And then when you do something like, the gas station and the kind of opening chunk of the movie,
Sure.
nighttime, they pull into the gas station, you got kind of the cyan look. I mean, because that looks like, are you literally just swapping out all the lights that are built into the
No.
the ceiling of
What
that?
what
Because it
I
looks
did
like
there
it's
was
all from the
I actually used their lights.
oh shit, okay.
I used the actual gas station's lights, but on top of the store, we planted some tungsten fixtures to shoot down. And then
hmm
I think when he comes into the store and out of the store, I pushed some soft bounce light just to key him with. And then off in the distance, we did a wet down, and I had some architecture lighting coming out the back to sort of like shape the house or shape the convenience store and whatnot, and with atmosphere as well.
Yeah, damn. And so everything there is just like gelled, or is it all in like the color grade?
It was in the
Really?
color grade. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah.
the island of where the gas pumps were,
Yeah.
there was so much light coming off of that I just said, well, just embrace this.
Yeah. I
Because I
love
went there
that.
at night and looked at it. I drove out into it and looked at it, and I did some photo studies of it. And I said,
hmm
okay, I know what I can get away with here, just for
What
speed and everything.
what do you mean by photo study? Like, are you literally just taking pictures and kind of
Yeah,
playing with the
yeah,
raw image and stuff?
yeah, and
Okay.
looking at it and just seeing what the space looks like at night, seeing when
Mhm.
cars go by, how our light interacts with it, what I need to add or take away,
Mhm.
that sort of thing.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah. That's what's up. Dang. So sometimes I try not to like, I like to hear the technical stuff. I don't know how much other people like that, but it's like just for
Dude,
my personal
yeah,
learning.
like, well, for let's say, let me think, like the Legion, right? That interior in the Legion.
Mhm.
So it's like hallways, the bottom part with a circular window. It's funny that window wasn't there. Like that's a set, right?
Is
And
that when he's
so
like at the stairs and
yeah,
there's
it's like
like
in the
what? Yeah.
poster.
Like one of
Yeah,
the
so
first images was that shot. Okay.
exactly.
Yeah. It's a great one.
So he comes down the stairs. That was just a blank wall, right? And I looked at it and I sat in the set and I walked back. I said, "We got to put a window there, man." I just don't know why. If I have a feeling we're gonna end up being at the top of the steps, and he's gonna come down and say, I didn't see him walking down the steps with nothing
Hmm.
there. Just saying, I said, there's just something about it. Can we do it? And I said, RZA, I asked for this window. Is that cool? He's like, yeah, man, go for it.
Mm.
That not intentionally knowing that that was probably going to be an iconic image of that film in the trailer, being one of the main things that becomes the impetus to that poster, sort of
Yeah.
the jumping off point. And it did, it's I most of the images used for press are as a silhouette image of him with holding the hammers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't foresee it, but I just knew I needed light there. And then it ended up being a really cool decision to do.
Mhm.
So I did. And I was happy with that.
And how do you, I'm trying to think if there's any, I mean, I guess when you're in going through all the rooms of the house, like you said, there's like fluorescence and stuff, but have you been in other situations like that where maybe they can't add the window and you're like, okay, well, we have some walls
Yes.
here, like, and now how do I motivate the light and all that? Like, how do you,
Yeah.
those are
Yeah.
the
Those are the tough ones,
problems
man.
that are really interesting to solve.
Yeah, those are the tough ones because you're like, a lot of people are, oh my God, there's all these white walls and how am I
Yeah.
going to deal with this? And there's no place to put the source. And those are hard, those are hard to deal with. And so you have to come up with a creative solution
Mhm.
to figure it out and also make it look good and aesthetic and work with the aesthetic of the movie,
Yeah. Like
you
in
know?
the kind of the garage or the shed that he's staying in
Sure.
when he's training and everything, and there's the first thing she pops on the lights and it's like the Christmas
The Christmas
lights.
one.
Were
Yeah.
those all like custom made or was that just actual Christmas
That
lights you guys posted up and kind
I
of balance the
basically,
other lights too?
yeah, I said to the production designer, I said, this room's missing something. Um, because you saw the ceiling fan that they had, or
Hmm.
the fan that was our, and we blasted light through that, and there was another window. And I said, this room he's spending a lot of time in this room reading this book. And I don't know if you notice when he opens the book, the gold light comes out.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you know what other movie does that,
Oh yeah.
obviously. So,
Yep.
and if you really notice, the background lights when he opens the book all dim down.
I did. I
Yeah.
like that touch. Yeah.
That was sort of to get in him into the book. I added them to add the Christmas lights because I
Mhm.
felt aesthetically that I knew if I got on a long lens with him, the bokeh would happen with the anamorphic on that.
Yeah.
So they just look aesthetically cool, and I felt like it was a space to where creative thought was, and I don't
Hmm.
know. I was just trying to make it to where, okay, he's safe for now.
Yeah.
And that was where he needed to train to get his mind right.
And at this point, I mean, so I was on set at Panavision just last weekend for a long time. It's been a long time since I've been on set, and I was just doing some G&E, and now they're rocking the crew I was with like Asteras. Everything's on the
On the
blackout
dimmer iPad.
iPad, like
Yeah.
all of it, all colorful and this and that. And I was just like, damn, man, when I started, it was still like just tungsten lights and gels and how
Yeah.
far it's
Very
already
X.
yeah, yeah, how far it's already
Right.
come. I mean, that was only like 2013, so not even
I
that long
know.
ago.
I know.
But so on your set, I imagine you guys rolling that same way? Like, you're kind of like chief lighting person that's on the
Yeah.
the pad and everything's kind of linked up. Yeah, that's
Yep,
crazy.
that's the way it is. I mean, he has a whole system of the gaffer will carry around the iPad and or if he needs to move anything when my dimmer board ops off to the side of the set, he's got a whole array of everything. And my gaffer's always like, bring up 221, bring up 224,
Yeah.
bring, you know, and he's coming back and I'll just point. And he's like, and then he has the quarterback thing. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like a plays in there, you know. We're like Omaha, Omaha, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we're always, you know, going back and forth on that. And it's just that's what it is now, you know.
Yeah.
That's what it
What
is. You have to have one of those guys.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I was like, when I was there having that experience, I was like, shit, I guess I got to learn this blackout thing now. And if that's where it's at. And I mean, I guess on that tip, obviously it's always a hard thing to say because everyone's experience is going to be different and it's not one size
Right.
fits all. But um, from, I guess, where you're at in the industry right now, where you see things are going as far as just like technology and I guess culture and everything. I mean, what do you think for somebody that's up and coming or like kind of the really important things to learn? I mean, obviously lenses, lighting, how to turn on a camera, sure, but maybe as far as like the business or, new technologies like that, like what do you think are, if you have any, I guess like tips or pointers for any up and comers, what would they be?
I mean, I think it's hard to sort of navigate it right now because there's so much change going on with AI, with studios buying each other, with not a lot of movies being made and original content being made. So I think it's almost like, you got to be true to yourself and kind of shoot what you like, or gravitate towards things you try to like. And I know that's hard and easy to say, like, oh, well, yeah, it's easy for you, dude, whatever. But I think if you shoot what you like if you did a spec or whatever,
Hmm.
shoot what you eventually want to do. And I think that will then shine and you'll find your people and then you'll go from there. But knowing all of that technology is 100%. Yeah, man. Always watching movies,
Hmm.
your brain images, because you never know. Some old movie can spark something for you and then lead you down another path of finding something else. And talking and collaborating with your friends,
Hmm.
you go. It's hard right now, man, because I just, I'm still trying to navigate all this stuff, man,
Right.
right now. Because I'm lucky. I've been very fortunate and blessed to be constantly working, and like I'm working right now, and then I'm going off to do something else after this. But this all is, you know, very, 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 very lucky that I can go from one to the other. And it's an interesting point right now in the business because I know so many young people getting into the business have no idea where to go and how to
Right.
go and all this. And they are shooting a lot of music videos and they are shooting a lot of commercials right now. And funny enough, there's this pockets of people that have been shooting on film again, young people.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
love seeing that. If they can do it, because I think just having that in your arsenal, man, learning
Hmm.
film, such a huge opportunity. That's how I think I'm so bold with lighting because I used to shoot film and not having that film background, I wouldn't be so easy with the cameras. It wouldn't, I like with exposure and everything, because I
Right.
think having the film background and having the zone system in my head, the way I
Yeah.
operate, if I didn't do that, I'd probably be a lot more safe in my work.
Hmm.
I never want to be safe. So I'm very lucky, I think, that I had that background, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, do you find that you're exposed the way you expose, do you use the same kind of, I guess, tactic as you did with film? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the same
So,
thing. I just use a zone system in a different
yeah.
way. In a way, I use
Nice.
it with color, false color. I'd kind of do the same thing, but find the ratios and then sort of
Mhm.
stick to where's middle gray,
Yeah.
and go from there.
Yeah. Damn dope. Well, yeah, man. I mean, we'll wrap it up here. I know you said you're in town for a new movie
Yeah,
right now. If you
yeah,
want to share anything about it before we
yeah.
get out of
Sure. I
here,
mean,
you can.
it's fun. Yeah, it's fun. It's so. My buddy Kevin Smith, who I'm sorry, Kevin Lewis. I
Mhm.
apologize. Kevin Lewis, director of Willy's Wonderland and The Accursed. and he's got this cool movie coming out pretty soon. But he's been holding on to the script for a while, and it's a Christmas. It's a action horror dark comedy Christmas movie,
Okay.
and it's basically this film called Christmas at the Kringles, and this family moves out from the city into the suburbs and sort of meet their neighbors. And what they find is the neighbor across the street has like Clark Griswold times 1,000, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
They wear Christmas sweaters, they do the whole thing, but they celebrate Christmas every single day. And so you end up finding out through the neighbors that we're with, the protagonists, what these people are like. And I'll just leave it there.
Okay. All
So,
right.
I don't give too much away. But look, that's going to be, I think it's coming out at the end of the year. So it's got a fast turnaround, but it's going to be a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
when the press article comes out for it, I'll definitely send it to you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Nice. Well, damn,
Yeah.
man. I appreciate you joining me again. It was cool to
Yeah.
finally,
Sorry I had to
from
cut it short, man. I
no, no,
apologize.
no,
Uh,
you're good. You
if
are
if you
good.
have any other questions, man, just hit me up. I'll
Yeah.
gladly share,
Yeah.
anytime.
No, for sure, man. Yeah. So thanks for being here. Everybody listening, I'll get this out like ASAP, hopefully in the next couple days. But
Thanks, man.
One Spoon of Chocolate is out right now. If you can, go catch it at the Vista in Los Angeles. I think they play it maybe three times a day.
Yeah.
35 millimeter print, the best sound system, plenty of leg room, all natural butter in your popcorn if you care about that. And
I
just
love
like,
that. That's
yeah,
great.
overall great vibes. But yeah,
Oh
go
man, I
check it out.
appreciate
It's
that.
it's definitely a theater movie for sure.
It is.
Don't wait till it comes out. See it in the theater. And yeah, man. Again, thanks again for being here. I appreciate the time. And
Thank you, baby.
yeah,
I
we'll
appreciate it,
talk
buddy.
again soon, man. Hopefully on the next film.
Definitely, buddy. And we'll try to connect while I'm here.
Yeah,
So
hell
I'd
yeah.
love to see you, man. We'll go get it. We'll go get a drink for real for one spoon of
Yeah,
chocolate.
I'm down.
Go
All
get
right.
that chocolate old fashioned.
Yeah. All right.
Sounds
Cheers.
good, buddy. Thank you, man.
Thank you for listening to the Drinks in a Movie podcast. You can now find us on Instagram at Drinks in a Movie Pod, where we'll be posting photos from all the various films that we discuss. You can also email us at drinksinamoviepod@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe, and thank you for listening.